So, I'm out at the field again with this Flite Test Storch. I was very unhappy indeed that the wings just completely folded up on me when I tried to fly it yesterday. I mean, it could have been predicted, but I guess I trusted the Flite Test design too much. If I were designing a plane, I would never design a plane with two wing halves with nothing but hot glue holding them together, because the way they design them, you just make the two wing halves, then bottom together, and they're held together by hot glue. There's nothing in the design that actually goes across and joins the two wings together. But I thought this was supposed to be a sound design. Anyway, it didn't work as far as that was concerned. The wing just, you can see it on the previous video, the wing just folded in flight, and yes, I was looping it and rolling and things, but I didn't think I was doing any terribly ridiculous maneuvers. Unfortunately, it completely broke its motor. Well, it bent the shaft of the motor, and when I took it out and put it in a vise to try and straighten it, the shaft broke, so that motor is non-operational at the moment. And I didn't have anything else big enough, so it's got a wimpy little motor which will barely, I don't even know if it'll get it in the air now, but I want to try. And now of course I've repaired the front, changed the front around. This is the firewall that came with the kit. I was using a metal mount for the other motor, but this motor I've just got that firewall glued in. I've added considerable reinforcement, naturally, now to the wings. I put a carbon fiber spar in the wing, a carbon fiber rod that I had on hand that I bought for another plane that I hadn't used, so I put that in the wing. That goes to within about an inch of either end of their box spar. And then I put wood here. I put 3 pieces of plywood. I wanted to leave the gap in the middle where the wires come out so I can work with the wires. In fact, I had to rewire one of the aileron servers because the wire to one of the aileron servers broke in the crash when the wings folded. So I already had to rewire one of the servos anyway. So I put 3 pieces of wood, just thin plywood glued across the 2 wing halves, one in front of the gap, one behind the gap, the width of the fuselage, and one across the back here where the rubber bands go on. So I'm hoping those extra pieces of plywood hot glued across the gap. Oh, and I put the last piece of the paint stick that came with the kit across the front there as well. So I'm hoping, who knows, I'm hoping these various pieces of wood glued across the join of the 2 wings will hold the wings together better, and that the carbon fiber rod in it will give some reinforcement. This is a 900 kV motor, same kV as the other, but obviously it's much smaller. This is more like a 400 size motor. They do say that's the minimum size motor for it, but I mean the other one was considerably bigger, and I didn't feel it was at all overpowered. I'd rather have more power, but I didn't have anything else on hand. I have to buy another motor or order one or whatever. The old one had a 10x6 prop on it. This has a 9x5 prop because the 10x6 prop would be, I think, too much for this motor. We're still working with the same programming, so when the flaps are up, the flaps are moving with the ailerons. I had another video that showed how that worked. And once you put the flaps down, then the flaps are flaps, and just
landing flaps,
and just the outer ailerons work.
Flaps up.
Anyway, and the throttle cut is on.
Throttle cut off. Throttle cut on.
We'll start the onboard camera. I've put the onboard camera on again. It doesn't live there all the time, but I keep mounting it. Okay, that should be, and it is videoing now. That was up in it when it crashed as well, but fortunately that seemed to survive the crash okay. I had to, of course, do considerable rebuilding of the nose, and it still looks pretty ugly. The whole nose was completely bashed in because it went in, when the wing folded, it went in hard. Right on the nose. Just fell down. I've got a teeny little bit of lead under the nose now, just held on by Velcro, because this motor's a lot lighter than the other, and I've got the battery a bit further forward. The center of gravity moved further back than I wanted it. It was nice with the other motor, but the other motor and its mount were and propeller were considerably heavier than this one. Oops, that's a cricket. The thing is, I don't even know whether I'm going to be able to get airborne with this motor. It's a pretty wimpy motor.
Take off flaps.
But what can you do?
Throttle cut off.
We'll see. Oh yeah. It's wimpy. Decidedly. And it's harder to control with a wimpy motor. When you've barely got enough power to keep the thing moving, it makes it hard to control. It's easier to control a plane when you've got decent power.
Flaps up.
Oh well. Got the ground mist again. I think it's pretty much clearing now. It's actually fairly light this morning, and we still got to keep the eye on this. It tilts quite rapidly. We're still in the late season heat spell. It's like almost it's quite mild even in the morning now, even at dawn. Well, it's not dawn. It's well, I was going to say time-wise, I don't know. I'm not going to baby it because there's no point. I mean, if it can't do anything, what's the point of it? That's full throttle, though. Yeah, I can just about loop it with this motor, but it's very wimpy, this motor. It needs more power. It can fly with this motor, but sort of barely. Which is sort of what I would expect. Well, I wasn't even sure that it would fly barely with this motor. It's minimal, decidedly. It really needs more power. I like the way it was before with the other motor. I don't know quite what that was. It was some sort of sunny sky motor they had on hand at Great Hovis. Bugger. Yeah, it's hard to fly like this just because it just has no power. I mean, I think the control surfaces are okay now, but the thing's got like no power. It's just got barely enough power to fly at all. So trying to do anything much with it is kind of hard work. Yeah, the mist almost looks as if the ground mist is getting worse again now. Well, that can happen around sunrise, you know, the moisture comes up out the ground. I don't know. Definitely would be happier if I had more power with it. Oh God, I mean, I was trying to roll it there, but it just doesn't have enough forward momentum. You start trying to roll it and it's just falling out of the sky because it can't roll fast enough to... Yeah. You can't really fly it like this, not much. Well, you can. I mean, quite clearly, you can fly it. I mean, you can absolutely fly it if you just want to fly it in circles. Yes, it'll definitely take off and fly in circles. But with this little power, trying to make it do anything much more than that is hard work. So you just got no speed, so you got no force, you can't pull it through anything. You can't pull it through any kind of maneuver, so you got no force to do anything. It's going so slowly that when you try and do anything with it, it wanders all over the place. Oh well.
Takeoff flaps.
Now that not only puts the flaps down, it also, in this case, reduces your aileron because
landing flaps.
It's full flaps. Because when you're only the outer ailerons are working as ailerons once you put the flaps down. When the flaps are up, the flap surfaces are also working as ailerons. Well, yeah, I see the tail looks considerably cockeyed from the wings. I don't know whether that's to do with a crash or whether, yes.
Throttle cut on. Takeoff flaps. Flaps up.
No, it's the... I was wondering why some servo was straining. I think it was because it's sitting so low down on the ground that the ground was trying to push the elevators up. The back of the elevators was sitting on the ground. Well, it flies like that, and one thing about it like that, well, I was going to say it won't get in trouble like that, but that's not entirely true. I mean, you won't rip anything off like that for sure, but you might, well, this is trailers of hot glue. I hate that. You just get hot glue all over the place when you put when you hot glue things. I find I get those like spiderweb like trailers just all over everything, myself included. When it sits on a smooth surface, the elevators don't touch the ground, but they do. Oh, we might as well have this guy off now. Yep. Well, you know, what can I say? Yeah, I think that was probably partially due to the crash. I think the whole fuselage is somewhat twisted, but it feels fairly rigid still. It doesn't feel twisty. Anyway, I'm going to put a bigger motor on it when I can get one. I just don't know what to do in terms of putting a bigger motor. But it's just, I'm not happy with it like that. It flies, but, you know, I want it to be able to maneuver better than that. We got it flying again at least, but it needs more power. That little, I don't know what you'd even call that motor. It doesn't have anything written on it. It's a common sense 900 kV motor, like a sort of 400 equivalent, more or less. And I've got a 9x5 prop on it, but it's not really enough power. And the plane, if anything, you know, now it weighs a little bit more even than a standard Storch would, because I put some extra bits of reinforcement on it and things, so I've actually increased the weight. And I've got a 2200 milliamp hour battery in there as well, which is putting some weight on. Anyway, it's repaired, it flies. Hopefully the wings are rigid enough they could hold up under reasonable flying now. And but I need to put a bigger motor on it to give it reasonable, a bigger motor, bigger propeller to give it reasonable power. So it's sort of working again, but it needs more work.